And welcome to our panel discussions on engineering and surgery and intervention. My name is Mike Megan. I'm a professor of biomedical engineering here at Vanderbilt, and I'm the director of the Master of Engineering and Surgery and Intervention program here at Vanderbilt. For those that may not know about our program, this is a professional Master of Engineering program, and it's designed to provide advanced technical skills of cutting edge areas in the surgical interventional area, these technologies associated with surgery and intervention. We provide aspects of professional development and soft skills. There's a capstone design associated with the program, and we also have our hallmark for the program is clinical immersion experiences, so folks really get an understanding of where their technologies will be used in terms of helping them develop them. So if you're interested, be sure to look up Vanderbilt's Master of Engineering and Surgery and Intervention program. So with that background done a little bit, in our previous panel discussions, we discussed essentially the role of engineering at the enterprise level as well as the entrepreneurial levels. So tonight we're going to be looking at Vanderbilt's entrepreneurial ecosystem and discussing that a little bit more. And so let me welcome our panelists for tonight. So first we have Dr. Charleson Bell, who is the Director of Entrepreneurship, Biomedical Innovation, and the I-Core at Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's Wond'ry. And we also have Mr. George Wilson, who is the Assistant Director of New Venture Programs at Vanderbilt University's Center for Technology Transfer and Commercialization. So for all those out in the audience, there are some great biographies out there for each of them. If you want to go take a look at where you can register for this talk, you can read about George and Charles a little bit more. But from first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming and taking the time out. I know it's we're in the middle of basketball season, so it's a tough time. But thank you very much for coming out and shooting the breeze with us for a little while. So with that, I'm going to jump right in, if you guys don't mind. So Charleson, you wear quite a few hats right now, and so you're the primary director of entrepreneurship at Vanderbilt's Wond'ry. So, can you tell us a little bit about your role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem at Vanderbilt, and what's the Wond'ry all about, and kind of maybe some aspects of trainees and their involvement with you.
Oh yeah. So let's start with the Wond'ry just to kind of give us like a viewpoint of where we're coming from. So. The Wond'ry is Vanderbilt's Innovation and Design Center. And so the Wond'ry is actually a contraction of two words. It's wonder and foundry put together. So you come here, you wonder about something, you're like, I have ideas, or I have identified a need and I want to come up with a solution. I wonder about it. And then you come to a place where you can found it, you can build it, you can create it. Wonder, foundry, that's the Wond'ry. And the Wond'ry is composed of four primary practice areas. We call it practice, right? Because while you're at the university, we want you to work on these skills that we're teaching you. So you come here, you practice how to innovate. And when you leave campus, now you're an expert, right? So we have four primary practice areas. The first one is social innovation. So if you have interest in social good, social justice, environmental justice, health equity, those sorts of things, or understanding how systems work together and how systems can be rebuilt to be equitable for all. Social innovation is a practice area for you. Also, there's making and advanced prototyping and emerging technologies. So we have maker spaces up here with 3D printers, with electronic machine shops, mechanical machine shops, VR technology, blockchain technology. If you want to build something and make it real, you can come and do it there. And also we have innovation and design research. Basically, we do research in that practice area on how to innovate, how to best innovate, what are the best practices we need to utilize. What is design thinking? How can we use it in multiple different aspects? And of course, the fourth practice area is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is all about two things. Most times people think about entrepreneurship, they say, all right, entrepreneurship is going out there and trying to make as much money as possible with your business. But we view it differently in the Innovation Center at the Wond'ry. We view it like this. We view it in the realm of design thinking. Where are the needs? Who has the needs? What are the problems? Can we empathize with those people who have these needs and who have these challenges? And then can we make the decision to then go and do something about the needs that those people have and their challenges? And when you go and try to develop a solution to take someone out of their suffering, that's actually defined as compassion, right? And compassion actually, when you end someone's suffering, you're creating positive value change. And the definition of innovation is positive value change. So from our perspective, innovation is compassion. And entrepreneurship is innovation for a fee, right? So we come from the approach of saying, let's identify the needs, let's find out what the customer's challenges are, and let's create something of value to solve those needs and do it in a financially sustainable way. And so me as the director of entrepreneurship, I oversee that activity, and I also oversee how we use the iCore program to teach innovators and entrepreneurs.
I love that. I said it's a socially minded, public serving kind of inventors, really, right? That's fantastic.
You're good while doing well.
Yeah. Turning to you, George. I mean, so you're the assistant director of new venture programs at Vanderbilt's Center for Technology Transfer, and so can you tell us a little bit about the Center for Technology Transfer, kind of your role, and then maybe do you have an audience here, hopefully of potential folks that are going to be in the engineering and surgical interventional, maybe a little bit of maybe an example or something like that in terms of intriguing their mind about what you do and what you kind of do work in translation.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy to be here with you today. So for Vanderbilt Center for Technology Transfer, I'll stick with CTTC, for now. We
Nice.
like our acronym.
I need the acronym.
We strive to provide professional commercialization services to Vanderbilt, including the medical center. So we help facilitate the flow of innovation, primarily technologies, out of campus and into the marketplace. And we accomplish this largely through the licensing of Vanderbilt intellectual property, or IP, to third parties. So many times these agreements occur between Vanderbilt and established companies like pharmaceutical companies, but other times it may involve a startup, and that's where my team comes in. So I'm a part of the new ventures team within CTTC. So I'm responsible for forming or supporting startups, principally founded to commercialize Vanderbilt intellectual property. My role is to develop and execute the programs and processes that are required to accomplish this. And this could be anywhere from idea validation to fundraising and anywhere in between. So startups come to us at various stages of the process, and we're happy to support them throughout. For an example of a startup that I'm excited about, is one coming out of the School of Engineering. It's a biomaterial that actually promotes the growth of arterioles in avascular tissue. So the body is pretty good at producing capillaries in that type of environment, but they are not adequate to supplying the blood flow that is required for downstream needs. So you could think of peripheral artery disease or complications of circulation due to diabetes. So that's a technology I'm excited for, and it's being commercialized by a postdoctoral fellow within the School of Medicine Basic Sciences, actually. And she was hired as an Aspire to Innovate fellow to commercialize that project.
Wow, that's awesome. That sounds really interesting. So turning back to Charleson for a second, you had mentioned it just at the end there, Charleson, about the iCore program. So I was wondering what exactly that was, and then how is it contributing? I mean, you have kind of a setup here with a nice little ecosystem going. So how does it actually contribute to that? What are the kind of activities there? And then maybe if a trainee was involved with that, like what would it look like?
Yeah, so let me start with what iCore is. So iCore is the innovation core. It's a National Science Foundation program. What it's meant to do is it's meant to train innovators and transform them into entrepreneurs so that they can take deep technologies from the university and commercialize them into the market for enterprise to create jobs, stimulate the economy, and impart positive value change in the world, right? So that's what iCore is all about. The national program is a 7-week program. It is an intense boot camp that really trains you on how to understand how to find the needs of the customer through something called customer discovery, where you actually go out and you do interviews with customers. And so that 7 weeks, it's pretty intense. It's a lot of work. But the good thing about it is that up front, they give you a $50,000 grant, right, in order to do this work. Now, I've been an entrepreneur myself. I'm an entrepreneur. People out here just don't give you money for you to figure out if your idea is going to be good in the market. So iCore is a great opportunity to utilize that grant to figure out your business model and base your business model on the evidence that you've gathered from your customers through these interviews. And so we've been afforded the opportunity at Vanderbilt through the Wond'ry to be what's called an iCore hub. And what a hub is a consortium of universities in a specific region that are all focused at this deep technology commercialization, right? And so as part of this hub, Vanderbilt is the lead. We have George Mason University, University of Virginia, University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, We have UT Knoxville, University of Tennessee Knoxville, and we also have 3 HBCUs, Meharry Medical College, Tennessee State University, and Jackson State University. We're all working together as a region to do this deep technology commercialization and create shared prosperity. That's all of us can live in an abundance in this new innovation-based society. So if a trainee is like, hey man, how do I get involved in this new movement that's going all across the region? I mentioned the national program with the $50,000. Well, there's actually a pipeline or a pathway to the national program, and that's through a regional program. And we host a regional program at the Wond'ry over 9 times a year. And it's a very brief boot camp that's only 3 weeks. The program is called the Sullivan Family Ideator Program. It's 3 weeks. It's actually 3 sessions for about 2 hours each, where we teach you the process of finding out who your customer is, specifically what their needs are, and what is the value proposition that you have to bring to them to solve their need. And that's what's called problem solution fit. And without problem solution fit, an enterprise or a company, no matter how much money is put behind it, won't survive. And once you complete that 3-week boot camp, you are eligible for to apply for the national program and achieve that $50,000 grant to build your business model based on evidence.
Wow, that sounds what a wonderful resource that is in terms of just the general pipeline of it. It's incredible. So now I got a question. It's kind of to both of you, and it's a little bit of an interaction question. Okay, so we have students out there that hopefully we're going to be recruiting into our Master of Engineering and Surgery Intervention program. And so you say we have a new student that comes in, they create an incredible prototype, and I'm going to go in order of however they would interact with the both of you. Who would go in terms of they were trying to be an entrepreneur and kind of move things out? What would be the kind of process that a student might kind of go through with each of you in terms of kind of bringing that thing out if they were to try to do something like this? So I guess what order would it go in? Whoever wants to go first, and then
I would think we'd want to find problem solution fit before we want to talk about making a prototype and commercializing. So I'm going to let Charles.
Let's say that they come into the program, they're training, and they're going to do a design internship in our labs. We have some very good faculty here that can help them and guide them in terms of creating kind of new designs. But they get to that point where they have this really cool prototype or some kind of an idea, and they want to start to think about spinning it out. Perhaps they need to do more customer discovery, as Charleson said. But what would be the interaction? How would they go through? How would they navigate this? These 2 sets of kind of resources.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and kick it off. So if a prototype is developed, reach out to the tech transfer office. Make a disclosure. You can do that on our online portal. And that's really important. It creates a dated record in our system, and a CTTC licensing officer can use that to evaluate how to best proceed. And the disclosure process is actually pretty important because patent protection is both time and audience sensitive. Regardless of who owns the intellectual property, if you're not adequately protecting it before you talk about it in public, you can jeopardize your ability to protect that technology. So for projects that are containing Vanderbilt IP, CTTC evaluates the commercial opportunity, market potential, and will take appropriate steps to protect the IP through patent applications, patent prosecution, copyright registration, whatever it may be.
For some projects, you really interact with the students and kind of, at least in some sense, you're kind of tutoring them along the way how to protect things a little bit when they're creating something.
Yes, absolutely. Generally speaking, my office handles intellectual property that's owned by Vanderbilt. And that might not always be the case for a master's student. There might be intellectual property that they own as well. The way that we parse that out is through the disclosure process. And I will also say, with that said, I participate in a lot of programs around campus. I'm actually a mentor to a Sullivan Family Ideator team right now. I like to support the ecosystem. I think it's really important for everybody in the ecosystem to give back to that. So I'm happy to serve as a first point of contact, even before the disclosure process, to talk with any of the students that have a prototype.
That's great. Charleson, want to follow on?
Yeah, absolutely. And then a lot of teams actually come to us, right? And, some of them may just have an idea in their mind or just have a note on a napkin. But we have some teams, and some of these are students that have kind of tooled around either in their residence hall, or if they're grad students, sometimes at their house or in the lab, they've tooled around a little bit and they already have some sort of working trinket or prototype that's and they're trying to figure out like, where does this go? Where's the best place that this can go? And so they do come and interface with us by going through the Sullivan Family Ideator Program. It's a catch-all, and so they'll be in a cohort with people from all different backgrounds, working on all different types of technologies, from biomedical, to something that's more direct, like a data science application, even to some people that are doing lifestyle based solutions or lifestyle companies. So we believe that mixing all of these people together, you get different viewpoints, and that can actually stimulate new ideas and new ways of going about solutions. So that first step would be coming to the Ideator program and achieving that problem solution fit. And sometimes it's non-obvious of who the customer really is. You come in with those hypotheses, and then you just have to get out there and talk to people about what their needs and challenges are. And sometimes you'll be so surprised about who that actual customer segment would benefit the most from the prototype that you already created. And now you don't have to go through all the huge hoops of coming up with huge marketing campaigns to try to trick someone into using your product. You're actually gonna have people compelled to seek the value you created.
So when they transition out of the Ideator program, what kind of things can they expect after that? Like what things are available to them, or things that they can apply for?
Absolutely. So we have a continuum of entrepreneurial supports. And so the Ideator program is just that first program that does the problem solution fit, making sure we have that fundamental foundation built so they can actually launch a venture from there, whether it be a nonprofit, for profit. And then the next step is a program that's called the Builder program. And so the Builder program is where we start teaching more information and knowledge about actually incorporating your business. We actually bring in some folks from CTTC to talk about intellectual property, to talk about patenting, to talk about potentially going after trademarks or copyrights or whatnot. We start talking about what are the key activities or the key partnerships that need to be formed. What are the resources you need to be seeking out? What are the distribution channels? Like, how do you actually get this value of this product to the customer? Things to think about. What's your revenue model? How are you going to make money? A lot of people overlook that. They'll talk to an investor and they'll be like, look at my cool thing. Then the investor's like, well, how are you going to make money? And they're like, well, I haven't gotten there yet. That's important if you want a business. So the Builder program is all about going from that problem solution fit and then building towards a product market fit. And then after that, we have another program called the Founder program. And that's based in the incubator space. We have an incubator space that's located in the Lowe's Vanderbilt Hotel office suite at the top. And we actually have 15 ventures up there that are right now working on scaling and optimizing their business so that in about a year, they'll be able to leave that space, seek capital, and grow their ventures into enterprises. And mixed in there, we're also developing some new things like, and as a branch off from Builder, there's of course the launch incubator with Founder. We've also established a wet lab incubator space in Cumberland Emerging Technologies that's located downtown in downtown Nashville. And we're also launching a accelerator that's operating under a One Vanderbilt unified model. Where all of Vanderbilt can come together to figure out a way how we can accelerate technologies through our programs and into the market. So there's lots of different opportunities going through that continuum of entrepreneurial supports. But if you have a STEM-based idea, a STEM-based prototype, then and you're working with a faculty member, then the National I-Corps program at $50,000 is also open to you to use as a significant resource.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, from the perspective of our program, which is the master's program, our goal is to kind of create, essentially really well-trained students in high-tech areas, allow them to participate in design. And then in some sense, we're not meant to be an entrepreneurship program in and of itself, but it's great to have these kind of synergistic resources that kind of fit within the environment. That's kind of what, sometimes folks make programs that are too broad in some sense, and what we're doing is we have kind of complementary assets. I think it's really, really nice, in terms of what we're developing here at Vanderbilt. So here's I guess a little bit of the downside, going into a little bit of the negative aspects. So what for both of you again, maybe just some idea of what are the biggest hurdles that you've seen, some of the things that maybe students don't know about that, it's be good to kind of get a little bit of a little premonition as to what are those hurdles that are out there in front of them in terms of doing these kinds of activities, or things that they have, misunderstandings or anything like that would be interesting for them to know. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe George, you can go first.
Sure. So I would say one of the biggest hurdles is specific funding for translational activities. And you can view that from both a technology and a talent viewpoint. I see some promising trends in the federal funding landscape for academic startups and other translational activities. But to date, I believe it remains a hurdle nonetheless. So, I mean, to help mitigate it, I try to stay on top of unique translational or entrepreneurship funding mechanisms that are offered by the federal government or otherwise, to promote within the Vanderbilt innovation ecosystem. If I know a team that's working on something that's a good fit, I'll send it their way. I think that type of proactivity is important in an ecosystem. But more importantly, I strive to be a vocal supporter of these activities anytime I'm on campus or off campus. Ideally, we'll continue to see continued and expanded institutional support within Vanderbilt for funding projects like the Seeding Success Grant, or for talent such as the Aspire to Innovate Fellowship I mentioned before in school medicine.
Charleson? Biggest hurdle you see? You see a lot of these people trying to spin things out of the lab. What's the biggest hurdle you see?
I think it's well, the number one thing I kind of see is a lot of people make assumptions about what it takes to actually start a business. And what they hear about, or they hear the entrepreneurial success stories that seem like overnight successes, and they don't see the immense amount of effort that it takes to launch a business, the underlying knowledge that it takes to actually operate a business, and then the effort that it takes to actually understand what the customer's needs are. And I will sometimes have some participants come to me saying, you're supposed to have the answers. Like, you're director, are you supposed to have the answers, man? This was already supposed to happen for me. And all I have to do is I just have to tell them my own personal story, my own journey, where I had those same thoughts about how I was thinking when I got my venture capital as a grad student, I was going to be an overnight success in a year, go through an accelerator program and then, go ahead and put me on Forbes. But that's something that sometimes takes unwinding to form a realistic view that, just because you have a strong piece of IP, you also have to wrap a business operations, marketing, et cetera, around this strong piece of IP to make it something that is actually an enterprise. So I think that's the number one thing. And then I want to double down on what George said. There's this intermediary area. Like we've got the microgrant funds to get you started. We've got the I-Core funds. I-Core is cool because it can actually tee you up to earn an SBIR or STTR, which is like the holy grail of trying to start a business based on non-dilutive capital, which means they're not taking any equity or any ownership of your company. It's just money to create cool things and create cool businesses. But there's this gap in the center, and that's the translation stuff that George was talking about. Where are the funds to actually pay for all of this prototyping and this testing that's to happen to get it to the step where you can get a grant, or to get it to the step where a venture capitalists want to put money in, or an angel investor want to put money in. So it's just those two things. There's a psychological aspect to entrepreneurship that it is commercialization is non-trivial. It's no easy feat. And then at the same time, there is this gap in translational funds. But these are some of the things that George and I are really working diligently to solve and provide solutions to, so that others that are coming through this process now don't have to go through as much pain as we did previously. So
that's great. No, so I think it's really interesting. You both have seen a lot of change in the entrepreneurial ecosystem at Vanderbilt. You're both engaged. I mean, I don't think folks maybe don't know this, but you're engaged in more than just at Vanderbilt. You guys are looking, and you're actually engaged all in Middle Tennessee in terms of what's going on with respect to entrepreneurship as well as innovation in the area. So I guess, like, from a horizon standpoint, you're and being around Nashville and kind of seeing what's going on. Charleson, you had mentioned Cumberland Emerging Technologies. We had Jim Stefancic on our last panel. So I guess, in terms of horizons for, Nashville, Vanderbilt, kind of what this ecosystem is doing, do you have any thoughts on that as far as, what's getting you excited about this area and what's the, horizon in terms of growth? What do you think of that? I guess either one of you first.
So Charleston's a little more outwardly facing than I am. So I'll speak of this from a Vanderbilt perspective. One of the most exciting aspects is Vanderbilt's ecosystem development and the new chancellor's initiative to lean into Vanderbilt being a key part in the Nashville community. And he is serious about that. And with
Can you talk a little bit about that leaning in and the chancellor's initiative? Not so our audience knows too.
Sure. Yeah. So Vanderbilt has, whether it is accurate or inaccurate, has had a more insular reputation here in Nashville. And the chancellor, Diermeyer, is trying to turn that on its head. So no more Magnolia Curtain, no more Ivory Tower. He wants people on campus. He wants people in the community coming in and being involved. And I think that's very important to building an ecosystem, a vibrant ecosystem that expands beyond just campus. And I think that's beneficial to us, right? So Nashville's creative scene, Music City, USA, right? That creative capital is fuel, a type of fuel in an innovative ecosystem. Being from the Northeast, I'm from New Jersey. I've always been struck by how nice folks are around here. And as an ecosystem, that's important as well, right? What I've heard from other people that have come in here is when somebody calls someone from Nashville, they usually pick up the phone. They're willing to give you 10 or 15 minutes of your time. That means you want to come in with some pretty solid questions, some pointed questions. But that opening and the blending of Vanderbilt's campus and the Nashville community and beyond, I think, is what I'm most excited about. And I've been here since 2007.
I mean, part of this panel discussion is to do exactly that, put it out to the public a little bit. Charles, do you have any comments on that? I think it's a pretty exciting time.
It is an exciting time. I think the one thing that's really got me jazzed is that it seems like in the broader region, the city, the Middle Tennessee, the state, and beyond, people are ready to work together. I think that is the most exciting thing. When you're trying to go about things solo, you can only see things from a certain vantage point. You only have certain resources. You only have certain expertise and knowledge. But when everyone comes together and is trying to build this, inclusive innovation ecosystem together, right? Now you've optimized the way you're going about things because you have so many different viewpoints, vantage points, different realms of expertise, different lived experience. And I think it's really cool in this current this current point in time, right? Previously, things were very siloed. People were trying to jockey for position. But now I think that realization that us coming together, us unifying is what's going to be the first step in us actually achieving this innovation culture and innovation society, this shared prosperity that we've all wanted. That's what's super exciting about what's going on right now.
Yeah, that's excellent. Nice way to put it. So I guess, this is some parting notes here. We're getting close to the end of our half hour. I guess, one of the way I opened this program is we have this Master of Engineering and Surgery and Intervention program, and it's kind of the whole idea is to kind of recruit kind of high-end talent into Vanderbilt, train them in new and inventive ways within surgery and intervention, and really kind of set them loose on the world in terms of really creating new technologies. So I guess from the perspective of advice, career path advice, encouragement, anything like that, as far as our trainees, potential trainees that are out there, do you have any parting notes on the ecosystem itself and kind of words of encouragement, that kind of thing? Either one of you first. Charleson, you want to go first?
Sure. So one thing that really changed in my life, so I'll speak from a personal perspective. One of the things that really changed my life is that instead of being hyper focused on these financial or wealth achievements, when I shifted to become more focused on ending other suffering and providing solutions to those in need, that completely changed the entire dynamic of my life. Then I started truly creating value for people. I think that applies in many different aspects of life. But definitely, as you're being trained to be the Tony Starks of the world, right? If you embrace the idea that the work that you are doing is having a significant and broad-ranging impact, positive impact on people's lives, as long as you stay within that track, like success is going to follow you. Because if you're solving people's problems, they will seek you out. So that's my only parting words. When I shifted my mindset to ending suffering for others and creating solutions for others, that's when everything started to blossom for me.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you very much. That's awesome. George, any last parting comments?
Yeah, so I would challenge the listeners to get into the gray area, right? The magic happens in the interdisciplinary studies. If you're doing an imaging, and I'm not talking about if you're studying something in imaging, don't just go to a different modality. Go talk to somebody in artificial intelligence, right? It's two benefits. The one benefit is you're gonna have to explain your technology to someone who really doesn't know what you're talking about, and that is very important as an entrepreneur. And second, they might make a connection for you. They might know somebody that that'd be a positive addition to your network, and they can put you in touch. The last word of encouragement I'd say is get used to hearing no. And not every no is going to be constructive, and some might be downright mean. So you got to stay strong enough in your convictions to carry on, but not stubborn enough that you fail because you don't pivot when you need to. So that can be a really fine line to walk, but Charleson and I are here to help.
Yep. Inspiration and tenacity. I love it. That's great. No. So I think that's all we got time for tonight. So first, I'd like to thank you both for taking the time out. I know you're missing some of the tournament right now. Vanderbilt's playing right now, folks, if you're not out there. So yeah, thank you again I appreciate the time that you take out. I know it's a little after hours right now, so I really appreciate it. I'd also like to send a little thank you out for the audience for listening. Again, it's very appreciative if folks want to come and listen to us. So my last disclaimer is I always say, as I'm no expert at this MC stuff, so as I'm an engineering researcher, just like everybody else here in these departments here. So if I fumbled and I bumbled, like I always tell my kids, I'll do better next time. And so take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.